Before we dive in, if you haven't read the full manga, do yourself a favor and fix that immediately. Today, we're diving deep into the mind of the man who turned baseball into a mind game, Tokuchi Toua. Let's start at the beginning, or at least our beginning, with Tokuchi Toua. We don't meet him under stadium lights or during some grand underdog training arc. We meet him in a dusty back alley baseball ring where the crowd isn't cheering for talent, but betting on outcomes. And right in the middle of it, a man with dead eyes, a devilish smirk, and the posture of someone who already knows how this ends. This isn't your friendly neighborhood ace pitcher. This is Tokuchi, the undefeated gambler of a game called 1 Ounce, a stripped-down 1v1 version of baseball, where it's not about strength, but pure psychological warfare. And by the time we're introduced to him, his record is 499 wins, 0 losses. Here's what makes Tokuchi so eerie from the very first chapter. He has no dreams, no goals, no "I want to be the best" speech. That's because he already knows he's the best. And more importantly, he doesn't care. Where other characters train to improve their stats, Tokuchi refines his control over variables. And if you think he's just some street genius with a mean slider, nah. He's not here to impress you with velocity. He's here to outwit you, outread you, and strip you of your confidence before the ball even leaves his hand. From pitch 1, Tokuchi is all about one thing: dominance through perception. He reads batters the way a veteran poker player reads a twitch in your cheek. And he is a veteran from Okinawa. Your stance? A tell. Your footwork? A pattern. Your bat swing? Data. By the time you swing, he's already figured you out. He doesn't rely on blazing fastballs or flashy curves. He relies on the fact that you will break before he does. It's not a game of skill. It's a game of nerves. He's not a pitcher. He's a predator. Let's be real. Tokuchi isn't a pitcher in the conventional sense. Pitchers train to master mechanics. Tokuchi trains to master the person at bat. He's not focused on the scoreboard. He's focused on your psychology, your fear, your hesitation. That's what he feeds on. He lures opponents in with false reads, gets inside their heads, then tightens the noose pitch by pitch. Pitching to Tokuchi is just another way to control the room. Now here's the kicker. That whole story starts because he loses his 500th game of 1 Ounce to Kojima. But ask yourself, did he really lose? Or did he let it happen? Because the moment he enters the Lycaons, the moment he's on that mound with the world watching, you realize something. Tokuchi isn't there for redemption. He's not there for glory. He's there because the game just got interesting again. And if Tokuchi Toua is interested, God help whoever's on the other side of the plate. Tokuchi doesn't just want to win. He wants to prove that winning can be engineered. He is not obsessed with guts, teamwork, or the love of the game. He doesn't even like the game. He treats baseball like a machine with flaws in the code, and he's here to exploit them all. Here's where Tokuchi gets really interesting. When he says winning is everything, he's not being arrogant or obsessive. He's being mathematical. He sees victory not as a trophy pop, but as proof of a system working as intended, his system. Every time he wins, he's validating his approach. Psychology over power, precision over emotion, calculation over chaos. He doesn't care about the crowd. He doesn't need applause. He just wants the outcome to match the blueprint in his head. Because for Tokuchi, winning isn't about glory, it's about control. One of the key things that separates Tokuchi from almost every character in the series, and from most protagonists in anime period, is that he doesn't let emotion cloud anything. He doesn't get fired up. He doesn't play for the team. He never has a passionate locker room speech. And yet, everyone listens to him. Everyone follows him. Why? Because he delivers results. Tokuchi is the embodiment of cold-blooded efficiency. He doesn't scream, "I believe in you." He just puts people in positions where their success is inevitable, because he's already calculated it. Tokuchi doesn't compete in the traditional sense. He dissects, he decodes, he demolishes your game plan before you even realize he's reading it. And he does it with unsettling calm. While others sweat, panic, overthink, or get fired up, Tokuchi is 3 innings ahead, watching your psychology unravel in real time. His secret weapon? He understands that most people are irrational. They choke under pressure, they doubt themselves, they break patterns. And Tokuchi is there for all of it, collecting data and punishing every emotional misstep. He wins before the game even starts. The most terrifying part about Tokuchi isn't what he does on the mound. It's what he's already done before he steps on it. He's studied the batter, predicted their patterns, played mental chess 5 turns ahead, set traps you don't even know you're walking into. And once the game begins, you're not facing a pitcher. You're facing a mind that's already played this game in full inside his head and won. Now, normally, we'd insert some "but at what cost" character flaw here, right? The emotional burden of genius, the loneliness of perfection, the cost of putting logic above everything else. But with Tokuchi, that burden doesn't exist, and that's what makes him so compelling. He's not weighed down by the drama of morality, regret, or fear. He's free, which means he's also terrifyingly consistent, because he never has to wrestle with himself. He's already made peace with being cold, calculated, and correct. Tokuchi Toua doesn't just win, he redefines what it means to win. He turns baseball, a game built on passion, tradition, and physical grit, into a platform for psychological manipulation and system-breaking logic. And when you realize that, you understand why no one ever really had a chance. The only mistake Tokuchi Toua makes throughout the entire manga is losing that initial game. Every other detail of his strategy is executed with near-perfect precision. So far, we've seen Tokuchi dominate batters and break psyches. But here's the twist that sets him apart from every other sports protagonist. He doesn't just beat players, he beats systems. Baseball isn't his passion, it's his battleground. And the enemy? The corporate machinery behind it. Let's talk about one of the most savage moves in anime sports history. The moment Tokuchi walks into the Lycaon's front office and rewrites the entire premise of his own employment. Instead of a standard contract, he proposes 1 ounce contract. Every out he records earns him 5 million yen. Every run he allows, he loses 50 million yen. Yes, you heard that right. He tied his paycheck directly to risk, flipped the balance of power, and smiled while doing it. Why? Because Tokuchi doesn't just want to pitch, he wants leverage. He doesn't play baseball, he plays the owner. At this point, you realize, Tokuchi is fighting 2 games at once, one on the field, the other against the owner, Hiromichi Saikawa. Greedy, manipulative, and fully convinced Tokuchi will crash and burn. But Tokuchi knows men like this. He doesn't just read batters, he reads billionaires. He knows exactly how to push them, when to show results, when to go just quiet enough to make them squirm, when to lose on purpose, to build pressure for a bigger win later. He intentionally loses at times, not because he's slipping, but because he's setting the next trap. You think you're watching a game of baseball, you're actually watching corporate warfare. And here's where Tokuchi's genius goes full monster mode. He doesn't just beat the rules, he weaponizes them. He reads the fine print, he uses statistical loopholes. He turns the very structure of the sport against itself. Imagine playing Monopoly with a guy who's memorized the entire rule book, rewritten house rules in invisible ink, and is currently buying your properties with your own rent money. That's Tokuchi. There's a moment in 1 Outs where the management literally tries to sabotage him, manipulate the strike zone, bench players, rig internal metrics. But Tokuchi saw it coming, all of it, and he doesn't panic. He just counters, quietly, efficiently, devastatingly. While most athletes play to master the game, Tokuchi plays to master the environment around the game. He understands that the real power doesn't sit on the field, it sits in the contracts, the boardrooms, the balance sheets. And by inserting himself there, by placing risk on himself instead of the team, he becomes untouchable. The Lycaons can't fire him, they can't afford to bench him, and they definitely can't control him. He took the system built to exploit players, and with one sentence, he flipped it upside down. Tokuchi Toua isn't just a strategist, he's a tactician in a rigged economy. He doesn't just beat opponents, he exposes the game itself. In the world of 1 Outs, he proves that intelligence, audacity, and ruthlessness can take down even the most entrenched systems without swinging a bat. And if that doesn't make him the most dangerous man in anime sports, wait till you see what he does to his own team. Let's be honest, when you think of a team leader, what comes to mind? A loud, passionate character who rallies the underdogs, inspires trust, eats way too much ramen, and maybe cries a little during a speech about friendship. Now throw all of that in the trash. Because Tokuchi Toua is none of that. He doesn't rally, he doesn't inspire, he doesn't ask for trust. He takes command without ever asking for permission. Tokuchi doesn't lead with emotion, he leads with presence. He walks into a locker room, says 2 words, and the room goes silent. Not because he's charismatic, because everyone knows this is the guy who plays chess while everyone else is still trying to learn checkers. They don't follow him out of loyalty. They follow him because he sees outcomes they don't. Because when he says, do this, they know they'll win. Even if they don't understand how, even if it feels risky, even if it scares them. He's not a captain. He's a storm you stand behind because it's safer than standing in front of it. Let's not forget, the Lycaons are a joke of a team when Tokuchi arrives. Low morale, bad coaching, no unity, no fire. And Tokuchi, he doesn't tell them to believe in themselves. He doesn't give motivational speeches or spark a miracle. He simply walks in and starts winning. And slowly but surely, the team adjusts. The batters start swinging with confidence. The fielders move like they're meant to catch everything. The dugout starts feeling like a war room instead of a waiting room, because Tokuchi installs belief without ever mentioning it. He proves, again and again, that he has complete control of the game, and that if you align yourself with his plan, you win. No faith required, just results. Now here's the twist. They don't just respect Tokuchi because he's smart. They fear him. Why? Because he never blinks. Because his face doesn't change, even when the situation gets deadly. Because they've seen him play 10 moves ahead, then punish a billionaire with a smile. And because, deep down, they know that Tokuchi could destroy them too, if he wanted to. But he doesn't. He protects them. He uses them. Yes, but he never sacrifices them pointlessly. He's not there to make friends. He's there to win, and if you help him do that, he'll carry you to the top. Tokuchi doesn't lead with warmth. He leads with gravity. You orbit him whether you want to or not. Tokuchi Toua is the kind of leader who never asks for buy-in. He earns it by being undeniable. He doesn't unite a team through inspiration. He does it by creating a reality where following him is the only rational choice. And somehow, in the process of manipulating, intimidating, and dominating, he makes them believe. There are pitchers who dominate with speed, others with technique, and then there's Tokuchi Toua, who dominates with pure psychological pressure. Let's get something out of the way. Tokuchi is not an elite athlete. He's not throwing 100 miles per hour fastballs. He's not spinning breaking balls like a shonen superpower. What he is, though, is a master at turning every single pitch into a mental trap. Because when Tokuchi's on the mound, he's not pitching to your bat. He's pitching to your brain. Every pitch is a test. Most pitchers focus on mechanics. Tokuchi focuses on patterns. Does the batter hesitate on outside pitches? Does he crowd the plate when behind in the count? What's his body language on a full count? And Tokuchi stores that data like a machine. By the second at-bat, he knows your instincts better than you do. But here's the terrifying part. He doesn't use that info right away. He waits. He lets you get comfortable. He lets you believe you figured him out. And then he flips it, changes the rhythm, baits your swing, and makes you destroy yourself. He's not outplaying you. He's letting you outplay yourself on command. Tokuchi's greatest weapon is his ability to anticipate human behavior. Where other pitchers rely on reflexes, Tokuchi relies on human predictability. He understands that. When people feel cornered, they swing early. When they get too confident, they let their guard down. And when fear sets in, their mechanics break. He doesn't just play for strikes. He plays for psychological disintegration. You strike out and you don't even know how it happened. You weren't beaten by the ball. You were beaten by Tokuchi's mind. One of the most iconic things about Tokuchi's style is that he never looks tense. Every batter is sweating bullets. The stadium's filled with pressure, and Tokuchi, he looks like he's waiting for a bus. That expressionless face isn't laziness, it's a weapon. Because no matter what the batter does, Tokuchi never gives away emotion. He never lets them in. And that uncertainty, that silence, it's louder than any trash talk. Batters walk up trying to hit a ball. By the third pitch, they're trying to hit a ghost. He lives rent-free in your head and charges interest with every pitch. When he loses, he's still winning. Even when Tokuchi gives up a hit, it feels intentional, because he never throws without purpose. Maybe he wants to test the batter's swing. Maybe he wants to bait the next guy. Maybe he wants the manager to relax just long enough to drop his guard. A loss in one inning sets the trap for the next. Because Tokuchi doesn't play this pitch, he plays the next 5. And the worst part? By the time you realize what he's doing, it's already over. He's a pitcher in name only. In practice, he's a behavioral economist in cleats. He doesn't just dismantle batters, he deconstructs their identities. Because on Tokuchi Toua's mound, the real game isn't baseball, it's survival. At this point, we've seen Tokuchi outsmart entire baseball teams, humiliate billionaires, rewrite contracts for fun, and turn a locker room full of losers into a war machine. And through all of that, he barely even flinched. No panic, no anger, no joy, no regret, just calculation, just control, just silence. Which begs the question, is Tokuchi Toua even human? Or is he something else entirely? The mystery of his origins. Let's start with the obvious. We know almost nothing about Tokuchi's past. No tragic childhood flashbacks. No sob stories, no training montage, no high school team where he just wanted to be accepted. Tokuchi arrives in one-outs as a fully formed anomaly, and the story never tries to explain him, because it doesn't have to. The absence of a backstory is the story. It turns Tokuchi into a force of nature, not a man. Tokuchi shows almost no emotion throughout the series. No nervousness before a pitch. No satisfaction after humiliating a batter. No rage when the team gets sabotaged. Even when he's under direct attack by the Lycaon's corrupt management, he doesn't react. He responds, like a machine calibrated for maximum consequence. That isn't coldness. It's something deeper, a complete separation from emotional ego. He doesn't take things personally. He doesn't get flustered. He doesn't chase revenge. He just moves forward. Does he feel anything? That's the paradox. Tokuchi clearly understands emotion. He reads people better than any character in the series. He knows exactly how fear works, how pressure affects performance, how pride warps decision-making. So he gets it. But does he feel it? We never really see him. form friendships, fall in love, seek validation, express vulnerability. Even his interactions with teammates are purely functional. Respectful? Yes. But personal? Not really. It's like he's studying humanity from the outside, but never letting himself join it. If Tokuchi has a philosophy, it's this: the world runs on systems. Control the system, and you control the outcome. He doesn't care about why people act, only how they'll act next. That's what makes him both terrifying and brilliant. He's not trying to save the world or destroy it, he just wants to solve it. And that detachment, that absence of any deeper motive, makes him feel alien. Because even the villains in one-outs are driven by greed, ego, or fear. Tokuchi, he's driven by curiosity. He wants to test the edge of logic, to see how far intelligence can be pushed until the whole world breaks. Tokuchi Toua may wear a uniform, but he's not a player. He may walk like a man, but he's not ruled by emotion. He's not here to prove anything to anyone. He's here to play a game that only he understands, on a level only he can see. And whether he's human or not doesn't really matter anymore. Because once he steps on the field, everyone else becomes a piece on his board. So, what do we make of Tokuchi Toua? He's not here for fame. He's not here for glory. He's not even here to prove a point. He's here because the game got interesting. He didn't want to be a pitcher. He became one to keep playing the real game, the game of control, of manipulation, of cold, logical dominance. Tokuchi doesn't give speeches. He doesn't chase dreams. He doesn't have a rival waiting to power up with friendship. Instead, he faces corporate greed, systemic corruption, weak-willed teammates, and elite-level opponents trying to cheat him at every turn. And he wins. Not because he's the strongest, but because he's the smartest man in the room. Every room. He rewrote the definition of a sports anime protagonist. He hacked the very genre he was in. In a medium where raw talent and emotional climaxes usually win the day, Tokuchi reminds us of something terrifying and thrilling. If you're smart enough, calm enough, and ruthless enough, there's always a way to win. And sometimes, that way doesn't involve swinging a bat. It just takes reading people, exposing systems, and never blinking. He's a strategist. He's a tactician. He's a shark in human form. And above all, he's unforgettable. One Outs isn't just a sports series. It's a psychological masterclass, and Tokuchi Toua is the professor you never wanted but couldn't stop learning from. So if you still think baseball is about stats and teamwork, Tokuchi will change your mind in 9 innings or less. Tokuchi Toua isn't here to become the best pitcher in the world. Why? Because he already knows he is. And honestly, that's the last thing he cares about. You ever wonder, if he can read people so well, why doesn't he just hit home runs too? Because that's not the point. Tokuchi doesn't do what he can do. He does what he needs to do. Nothing more, nothing less. If he started doing everything he's capable of, there'd be nothing left to test. No game left to play. The only reason he's even standing on a mound in the first place? Because he lost his 500th match in 1 outs. That's it. The man's built different. Tokuchi Toua isn't here to play baseball. He's here to break your mind, bankrupt your club, and win. Not with strength, but with psychology. While most anime sports protagonists talk about teamwork and chasing dreams, Tokuchi talks about profit margins, probability, and power. He's not the underdog. He's the overthinker who beats the system by becoming the system. In a world where people play the game, Tokuchi plays the people. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown of anime's most dangerous pitcher, hit that subscribe button, because we're just getting started with characters who break the rules, bend reality, and leave chaos in their wake. And remember, in Tokuchi's world, the game isn't over until he says it is.